it's about lifting up the individual. I often have submitted prospects of ours for awards without them being clients of ours. I've just recognized the work they've done, and you wouldn't believe like the impact that has on them because so many companies don't think or consider about rewarding their own employees outside of like internal shout outs, Slack threads, et cetera. Like they don't think about submitting them for awards for industries, et cetera, or sending them even out to events, right? But I was like, God, what would that feel like for me? That would be amazing if my company did that for me or a vendor. And so I was like, I'm going to start doing that for my prospects. And that I think is a very empathetic human way to engage. And that's what we need now. All the display ads in the world aren't going to fix your revenue problem. Like it's the connection that's going to make the difference. And that's the best way to get into an account, in my opinion.
Hey everyone, I'm Joel Premack, host of the Community-Led Growth Show. Today I'm joined by Corrina Owens, Senior Manager of ABM, supporting the enterprise go-to-market organization at Gong. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Corrina.
Joel, thanks for having me. So happy to be here.
Of course. Well, I am exceptionally excited for today's conversation, but let's start off with, would you please give all of our audience, listeners, and viewers a brief 30-second intro about yourself?
Ooh, okay. So I have been working in SaaS for about 13, I'm losing track, 15 years, kind of all across the space. I've been a marketer team of one. I've led demand generation ABM teams of upwards of 5 and more. I've been all over the gambit. But what I love most about marketing is the like psychology behind it and the ability to connect with it. And with ABM, you really get to be a part of the deal team, and you're an extension of that with the sales resource. So it's been just amazing to be part of like a full cycle journey of a customer with ABM. Other things that people may not know about me, I am a true crime fanatic. You may be seeing some stuff come out around that in the future. And I also am an aerial silks artist, which is, if you're not familiar, if you like go to Cirque du Soleil, it looks like the two curtains. I've been doing that for about 14 years. I teach, I instruct, I perform, and it's one of my favorite ways to just be creative and flow and get my body moving. And now I'm going to shut up because I don't like talking about myself for that long.
Well, thank you so much for that. And now, setting the stage for today's conversation, you are our actual first ABM
Cool.
practitioner on the show. So
Awesome.
I'm really excited for this conversation. But before we get into that, would you please define ABM for everyone in case they're not familiar with it?
Gosh, yeah. So what I'm going to say first is that I want everyone to know that all these terms are defined typically by tech vendors, right? So take that with a grain of salt when you approach any of these, terms that you hear. So ABM stands for account-based marketing. You'll also hear ABX, which stands for account-based experience, which is what the community is starting to move more towards. And really what ABM is it's about focusing on who are your company or your product's best fit customers and how can you best serve them throughout the entirety of their life cycle. You will find that ABM is often a segment of demand generation. So they'll work kind of hand in hand. They're often on the same team or under the same umbrella, if you will, but not the same team. And I do think that most ABM organizations that apply, that use ABM, that's the most effective way to do it. But mostly account-based marketing is really just smart marketing, right? Like it's just really understanding the account, your buyer, and serving them the like red carpet experience and making it as easy to sell for your sellers to these accounts and as easy as to buy for your buyers for the company you're working for. So that's in a nutshell my rant about ABM.
I love that. And I especially love the idea around like what you just said, like rolling out the red carpet, I think it's very unique, but it's a very, I'm about to use another acronym, B2C experience that can easily be applied to a B2B one if you just kind of like tilt your perspective on it.
Totally. And I think it's like it's little moments like that that get lost. We have a really great campaign that I launched here at Gong, which is all around our champions and then moving on to new companies. And we do that with a vendor called User Gems.
Mhm.
Um, so it automatically lets us know, like, we tell them, like, hey, these are our top raving fans. They know us inside and out. Please let us know whenever a job movement changes because we want to be on top of that. So that alerts the entire account deal team, including myself. And what we do is we just give. We just give. We say, congratulations, we're going to miss you. We've loved working with you. We'll personalize the gift for them and they will come back to us. And one of my favorite things that they've said is they'll come back to us and say, this is a brilliant strategy. I'm sending this to my marketing team. Congratulations. So huge compliment there. But then we'll send them tips too. So since we sell to revenue sales leaders, we'll send them like 90-day like checklist for settling into your new role. But what that's done for us is it's helped us break into these massive enterprise accounts, right? For people
Mhm.
that maybe don't understand not only who Gong is as a product, but what the hell is revenue intelligence, right? And where does that fit in? And how is that different from a CRM and et cetera, et cetera? So a lot of programs, like that's one of the ones I'm most proud of because it's keeping your customer. You should always think about your customer journey as something that's never ending. Like, think about it, Joel. There's probably a tool that you've bought at a company that when you go to your next company, you're going to want to buy them again, right?
Yep, got a few that I really, really love.
And that stays with you. So it's so important to always remember that. And that's a big part of ABM or ABX that I think people miss is that just because you were able to sign that logo, right, doesn't mean you can't sign another new logo with that same champion.
Mhm.
So yes, it's looking holistically at the account, but we really do need to dive in and look at those different individuals who are the champions who are helping make the sales and buying process and believe in you and your product easier and making sure that you just don't lose touch with that relationship. Another thing that I like to recommend to people is this concept and notion that sellers are very familiar with, but we don't think about as often in this perspective as marketing professionals, but the idea of multi-threading. So, and what I mean by that is look at your account, right? And think about who would be the best person to connect with at the company I work at, right? So I get pulled into a lot of our deal conversation calls because I use my tool Gong as a marketer and I'm talking to their CMO about how they can use it to figure out what content is performing best or what new messaging they just rolled out. How is that performing? And that's what I think a lot of companies don't take enough time to focus on is what is that peer-to-peer relationship from the company you work at to the company you're trying to sell. And that should go up all the way to the C-level. I truly believe that C-levels your CEO should have some regular cadence with the CEO of your top account. That relationship should be like, you should be working on forming those because that's really getting you sticky across the organization. And there's nobody that can describe like the value of your product or your service better than the persona that you're trying to sell to, right? That's used it, that gets it, that knows it. So that's the only other thing I think that often gets missed is that idea of mapping that out from the get-go.
I love that. And I was actually just about to say, especially when you start talking about enterprise accounts, the ones that you predominantly work on at Gong, where multi-threading and champions can be very impactful, whether it's a product marketing person who used it really around like messaging and in their previous company moves into a top account. Maybe you've already talked to a VP of sales who was a previous champion at an organization or an account manager director or VP who's now on that like renewals and expansion kind of side of the conversation. there are so many people that help in those types of deals to get them across the line where you need that buy-in from boom, boom, boom. That's when you're seeing
100%.
it across and that holistic approach.
There's this little thing I love to do whenever my sales team thinks it's appropriate. I
Mhm.
love to actually take the Gong snippets of those people and them saying it, right? And then compiling it in a little video and sending it to the people that are like not as bought in, not as sold, whatever. Because it's like, look, it's not us, right? Like, here are your own people that you trusted to hire and employ. Like, they loved it. Here's why they loved it. So of course, get permissions and all that to do that. But yeah, exactly what you said. Like, I mean, there's so many great opportunities you can take to show the value. If it's not already understood and bought in from people that aren't as familiar or comfortable with you as yet.
Love it. But today we are diving into the relationship of ABM and community at Gong.
Yes.
So first off, I'm really curious, just like how has Gong's ABM program helped grow its community program? And like, what does that relationship look like today?
Yeah. Well, one of the first things I did when I came to Gong was I launched in partnership with community, Hunisha and Molly, just extraordinary marketers. We launched this idea of a peer-to-peer matching program. So for enterprise sales, we know they're long and they're complex. And their first initial experience, like with the tool, can make or break what their overall perception is going to be with you in the long run. So we launched a program with Meetsy that's run by a company called Comsor. And what it does is it matches like persona to other like persona. So people that were in like pilot stages or proof of concept stages, we would match them to people that were raving fans, that knew how to use the product, that knew how to get the best value out of it. And what I liked about this concept is that the old way of doing this is to say, hey, sales rep, I need 5 references, send them to me. You know, they're going to be cherry picked. You know, they're going to tell the client what they want them to say. Like, there's a lot of like distrust probably put into that. We're completely removed from the process. All we do is we send them to community. They have the option to opt into that program to be connected peer to peer. We give some prompts like, hey, what was one surprising thing that Gong did that you didn't know about? Or hey, how did you sell this across other functional partners? But the conversation is private. We never know about it. And I think that alone, the fact that we do that we offer that removed of sales biases or anything, shows the client like, wow, like this is a customer centric program. Like they really do care that we get value out of this. Now, of course, are we all here to help them get the best use out of the product? Of course. But sometimes people really don't want to hear from the vendor. They want to hear from the people that are just like them that do the job. So that program has really helped at community. Another way that I've worked with Nisha and Molly is they understand the value of community, and their future is to one day see community members kind of run the community they've created. And that's already happening with this segment called Women in Revenue. So Ashley from Seismic and Katrine from Comsor had become friends by that matching program. And they said, this is a gap that's missing. Like, I would love to create a space for what we're talking about the challenges we're facing as women in revenue for others. And we've since launched a monthly meetup. And now we all come together and we talk and we share stories, and if it's a safe environment, and we get shout outs in Gong. We don't ask for them, but we do. But these community is meant to be a place for people to connect with like-minded people and to learn from one another, to feel safe, to feel heard. And I'm so proud when companies make this a priority and don't structure those communities under things like revenue. So Nisha's, it's not under a revenue. Like, her program is outside of revenue completely. That's not the goal of community. The goal of community is to connect, and she's doing that.
Yep, 1,000% agree. And Molly and Nisha are amazing. They were guests on season 1. So thank you. That's your shout out. So now that we've just heard about how you all are doing the one-to-one peer matching program. You have the Women in Revenue monthly meetup going. I know that there is kind of like a forum conversational element of the community as well. So I'm really curious now how you, and in conjunction really with Molly and Nisha, focus on showing the ROI for these programs. And I'm really curious, like, do you have different metrics that you look at from the ABM lens than they look at from the community health and overall like love perspective?
For sure. Now, I'm first and foremost dedicated to their mission for what they want for community. But there are, things that we can attribute to revenue and the cycle of what these programs like the Meetsy one-to-one peer-to-peer and the Women in Revenue have done. It's a soft touch point if it really resonates with someone. So there was a top account of ours, and I was trying to find out what would resonate with her on a personal level. And it turns out like leading women is really like being a champion of women in sales is her passion. And so I took a swing and, little me over here asked this SVP head of sales at a very, very large company to join our Women in Revenue. And she saw that I took effort into it. I called out quotes from a podcast she was in where she showed her passion, et cetera. And she joined as a speaker for one of our Women in Revenue meetups. And it was a way to build that trust with the account so that we could start having other conversations that were business related, right? But you do need to think about your marketers. And I'm kind of saying this to the organization as a whole, but sales in particular, your marketers are the ones that can help build those soft touch point relationships that can help you break open into accounts. So since then, it's become kind of part of our practice where we bring on these leaders that do have this passion for women in sales to come on and do kind of like an AMA, ask me anything style. And they're happy to do it. They know we want them. They've already been harassed and cold called a million times, but it came from a woman who also is passionate about supporting women. And I was able to show her that I'm not just asking just to ask. I listened to her do an interview and I quoted her interview. So I would say you can be very intentional. And yes, that is now a buyer touch point in her journey. Like that was a touch point in the journey to close this account, is having taken a community-led approach to like early stage net new logo. I don't know if it's the most inventive thing in the world, but I think that we have to look beyond just what does it mean to connect to a individual at their company business metric needs? What does it mean to connect to an individual about what matters to them? That's going to stand out, and that will help you close a deal.
Definitely agree and absolutely love that approach to the program and like showing ROI for it. Because as you just said perfectly, like connecting with people on business, it's great, but connecting with them on like their passions and the things that motivate and drive them is going to be so much more meaningful. And those
Yeah.
opportunities then can become so much more rich for everyone involved because they're passionate about it. You can see the thoughtfulness that they put into presenting or their prep or a template or an article or anything else that they're doing to support that broader audience and the people who they want to serve and support and help in their roles and their careers.
Yeah. And I always talk about it. And any marketing I've ever done, it's about lifting up the individual. I often have submitted prospects of ours for awards without them being clients of ours. I've just recognized the work they've done, and you wouldn't believe like the impact that has on them, because so many companies don't think or consider about rewarding their own employees outside of like internal shout outs, Slack threads, et cetera. Like they don't think about submitting them for awards for industries, et cetera, or sending them even out to events, right? But I was like, God, what would that feel like for me? That would be amazing if my company did that for me or a vendor. And so I was like, I'm going to start doing that for my prospects. And that I think is a very empathetic human way to engage. And that's what we need now. All the display ads in the world aren't going to fix your revenue problem. Like it's the connection that's going to make the difference. And that's the best way to get into an account, in my opinion.
I love that. And I think that that's a brilliant idea. Like now I'm going to start stealing this. I love it. I'm a
Please,
huge
yeah.
fan. I love it. Thank you. You are going to see many more people, I think, use that once
Yeah.
this goes public.
You
So
should. You should do it. I
thank
love
you.
it. I mean, it's spreading the love.
Mhm.
We need to get back in the habit of as a society of rewarding others. We put a lot of focus on, I'm sorry, you can cut this if you want, Joel.
No, go for it. Like keep going.
We put a lot of focus on shaming people these days and not enough on recognizing how hard it is to show up every day. And these little things just just get ignored. They're just meant to be par for the course, but it's hard. It's hard. And I want people to steal that because I want our culture to be like that. I want us to reward good work. I want us to reward people that have done good things. There is no like too big or too small. Like there just isn't.
Mhm.
So when you see that people like have done something that have made your day easier, let them know. Like just that'll mean the world to them because that probably took a lot of intentional effort. Even just saying thank you. Anyways, rant over. Steal it. I have a LinkedIn post all about how to do it. Feel free to reach out and DM me. I'll give it to you. Um, it's a great way to bring value in a very meaningful way to your prospects.
I love that. And I think like what you're really hitting at is that it's just like authentic. It's authentic, it's superhuman, and it's meaningful to both sides. So it's like it's a win-win.
Yeah.
No one is like losing in this relationship through
Yeah.
that type of experience. So I think that it has all the tenets of like an amazing program. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I am really excited for to hear your thoughts on the next question because it's something that I think more communities and revenue marketing teams, whether ABM or demand generation, can really collectively like work on together, which is how have you and really like what are your tips for those two teams to work better together and like win as a team and really champion and hold each other up to
Yeah.
help achieve both of their goals?
I think it's visibility that's often the problem. Um, so one of the things that I like to do is I do an ABM enterprise monthly newsletter. And I shout out what's happening in community and what's working. And I shout out what's happening with new content and what's working. I shout out like a new sales email template with that a SDR did that's working. That I think helps to bring so like literally the three tenets of my email, the tenets, whatever. It's what's new, what's working, and what's upcoming. And then I'll do a video distill breakdown of me going through the highlights. So if they want to watch it on 2X, they can. Because it's a big newsletter. It gets packed with information. But they had been looking for a long time for a central repository, and we hadn't had one for a while. And to me, I was like, this will be it for them. And I've gotten such great feedback from sales and different leaders on that because I'm helping get their word out and their work out and the work they've done out, and it bridges the gap. And I would furthermore say that there's literally no such thing as over communicating. Like Don't assume that in that one meeting, everything was absorbed. Don't assume that that one PowerPoint or email was read and absorbed. Don't assume that one Slack thread was read and absorbed. Like I have never had any leader tell me that I'm communicating too much. Unless, of course, I'm challenging conventional wisdom too much. I have been told to kind of keep quiet. But overall, if I'm spreading information that's going to be helpful for the company, it's very rare that I've ever heard that I'm communicating too much. So as often as you can, communicate those small wins, communicate what's working, communicate in multiple channels. People will let you know they're listening to you. People will let you know what has worked best for them. And it's different for everybody because everybody learns and adapts to things differently. So try as many mediums as you can, but the simple message is over communicate.
What are the 3 community trends you're most excited for and watching for in B2B SaaS in 2023 from your ABM, demand gen, revenue marketing background?
Yes, great. I'm most excited about the creator-led communities. Social has been one of my most exciting communities I've joined as of late. It is active. It is full of revenue growth oriented professionals across the board. There's no like hierarchy, which I love because a lot of communities are starting to be like, C-level only or what have you only. They're all in there and we're all chatting. We're all learning from each other. So I'm super excited about more creator-led communities. I'm interested in watching about AI. And my concern is actually about that. So there's, as you know, with internet, a lot of biases that can start forming. Think Twitter, think Reddit. I'm concerned about what these bots are going to take in and then what people are going to start to push out as like pure facts. So I'm paying very close attention to things like what is the tool's purpose? What is their compliance and privacy policy? Because I can see how easily, and there are bots in communities already, like I can see how easily that can start to get uncontrolled, if you will, or lead us in a negative direction as a society. So I'm keeping an eye on it. But and then I guess my third thing is LinkedIn. I want to see if LinkedIn is finally going to realize what solution they really are and what they're going to do with that solution. So those would be my 3 trends, hot takes, whatever. What will you for community?
I love it. Well, Corrina, again, thank you so much for being on the Community-Led Growth Show today. If people want to follow and or connect with you after the episode, what are the best channels and or handles for them to do so?
Thank you, Joel. You've been amazing. And I love everything that you're doing. And I'm going to be a fan in your corner forever. I am on LinkedIn, Corrina Owens, Corrina. And then I am also on TikTok, featuring _Corrina, Corrina.
Awesome. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks, Joel. You too. Bye.